The Echo Chamber, brought to you by the Holmes Report and produced by the international broadcast specialist Marketeers. And sponsored by March Communications, connecting innovation and people.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Echo Chamber. This is Arun Sudhaman. We're recording this podcast in the sunny city of Johannesburg. We've just finished the third African Innovation Summit, and I'm here with one of the panelists from today's event, a long-time friend of the Holmes Report, Keri-Ann Stanton, who is the head of communications at M&amp Brands. You have another title as well, which I've misplaced.
Well, I wear two hats.
Okay.
So I wear the M&amp Brands hat because that allows me to stretch and grow myself, because that's all about building a network.
Right, and M&amp Brands is the holding group.
It's
correct?
the holding group. It's an investment company that is quite aggressively trying to build Africa's first network of communication and advertising agencies, so that we can take on the WPPs and the Omnicoms and all those global
giants. Good luck
giants.
to you, African-owned.
For Africans, by Africans.
Excellent. And your second role?
And the second role is, while we are trying to find the right PR agency to merge with or acquire or do an equity swap with, is we needed a PR offering. Mm-hmm. So I am busy building a PR offering in the group. So that role is just PR strategist, because I refuse to be an MD ever again.
Okay, so that's kind of your industry takeover play.
Yes.
Right. And how is that progressing so far? I mean, we should give a little background on you, actually. So you obviously were at Engage Joe Public before, where in fact you launched their PR offering as well.
Correct.
Right?
So I was headhunted by. So I had built a PR agency called Kezi Communications.
Mm-hmm.
I then sold it to GGI, Gillian Gamsey International. Stayed on there for a year and a half, and then I actually approached Joe Public to become their preferred PR supplier or partner. And they said to me, we're starting a PR agency with or without you, so come play. So we started Engage Joe Public, and I was with them for 4 years.
Right, okay. And now you're launching effectively a new agency for M&amp Brands.
Yes, it's called, so the PR offering is called Boza.
Right.
And so that's pretty new. And then I also assist with PR within Avatar. So with the M&amp Brands, with that holding group, I get to do any kind of PR work or PR requirements for any of the agencies within the network. So I get to work, I get to help on Avatar work, I get to help with Mela Events, which is the eventing agency that we acquired last year, and then Boza, which we are building from scratch.
Wow. And so when you're building a new agency from scratch, what do you do now that you wouldn't have done 4 years ago when you were doing it the last time?
I would. Well, what I'm doing now is refusing to take on the MD role. I'm refusing to sit on Excos and Mancos. I'm refusing to get bogged down with GM stuff. So that is a very clear line in the sand that I have with our two wonderful founders and owners, Zibusiso Mangwanazi and Veliet Ngubani. They get it, they understand it. So my focus can really be on strategy and creative and new business, which is what I'm good at. I'm not great at any of that other stuff. So that's, I've got a lot of support on that side. What else would I not do?
Or what else would you do?
What else would I do?
It's interesting because it's not often you come across people who are launching new agencies just 4 years apart.
Yeah.
So you can actually kind of compare and contrast.
Well, I think it's, I think I'm incredibly conscious and mindful, because this is the third PR agency that I'm building, that I don't try and recreate the same thing. And I think what's, you know, Kezi was kind of a jack of all trades. Engage ended up being an extremely creative agency. That was our differentiator. And I think the PR work that that Boza is doing now, which is kind of a strange turn of events, is very public affairs, corporate affairs oriented.
Okay.
So it's very different. And the approach, so it has helped shape the narrative. It has helped us kind of go, we are not going to be the PR agency that you're going to read about, that you're going to hear about our wins and the work that we're doing. You're going to feel the work that we're doing.
Right. Okay.
So it's just, I think, you know, we've been up there and we've won all the awards and we've done all of that stuff, and so let's try and do it differently.
Sure. Why did you move to M&N from Engage Joe Public?
I'd been there 4 years. I think we were on a high. We had won. I mean, it was a crazy amount of awards, 11 awards in 1 year. In the South African context, that's a lot. We had shown incredible growth, but something I felt, and it was like, so what now? What next? Now all that we can do really is to scale up. And do I want to be leading a huge 60, 80 person agency? So that was like in the back of my head. I'm like, I don't know. Rather leave on a high. And then also, you know, this, you know, it might sound really twee, but living in South Africa, the transformation issues and the lack of transformation and bringing new young black talent into the industry was really bugging me.
It's still a pressing issue.
It's a pressing issue, and I had known, I mean, Z and Veli and I have a history. We've worked together before, many years ago, and when they made the call to me and said, this is our vision, and they sold me the vision of what they were trying to do, and it was just much bigger. It was much bigger than a new PR agency. It was much bigger than an advertising agency. It's just a much bigger vision, and I completely bought into that and am driving it and want to be part of it. You know, I want to be part of that change.
And did you see space in the market for a new agency as well?
A new PR agency?
Well, the new agency that you're setting up, I guess, because presumably you must have, as an entrepreneur, you would have thought to yourself, okay, this is going to be successful. I can see that perhaps these areas are not being covered by existing agencies.
You know, it was more, I think it was more about, to be quite honest, it was more about, I need to go somewhere where I can learn more and where I can grow more. And in that space, and that's why that corporate role, you know, of head of comms was quite a safe space for me to sit for a bit and then see where the opportunities lay, and then to see where I could facilitate and where I could assist and where I could add value. And then yes, it's I think the state of the PR industry is always open. There's always an opportunity for something new and fresh, just by virtue of what we do. Absolutely,
and the pace of change.
Exactly.
Do you see a lot of new agencies appearing on the South African PR market?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't aware of them until I actually judged the Prism and the Sabre Awards this year. And I was surprised. I was really surprised at the number of new young agencies, the new shops that have opened up, that are doing fantastic work, really good work. So where they've come from, and so quickly, and delivered results so quickly is impressive.
What do you feel? I mean, it's a tough question if you've only just become aware of them. But do you feel it says anything about the market that those firms are coming up now?
You know, I think the state of the PR industry always is those big.
Yeah.
You're going to. I mean, and that's why you battle. That's why you battle to find talent, and that's why you battle to retain talent. Is because people grow up in the big agencies and then they leave to start their own agencies. You know, that's just the flow. That's the way it goes. So, yeah, I mean, I think I've forgotten your question.
Don't worry, I often forget my own questions too.
So yeah, I mean, I think they.
What do you think of the market as a whole, given that these agencies are coming up?
I don't think it's anything new.
Right. Okay.
I don't think it's anything new. I think it is what it is. I think it is what happens. I think what is going to be interesting is this new MAC charter, this new triple BE code. I mean, the MAC charter came into play from the 1st of March this year, if I stand to be corrected. I mean, and that stipulates 45% black ownership.
Okay, so how hard is that going to be for South Africa's PR agencies?
Well, it's got. I mean, it's not a simple. It's never a simple thing, because if you're earning under certain revenue, you can get away with it. There's different things, but I am very curious as to what's going to happen with the bigger agencies, because
none
they
of them
can't
would meet that threshold,
no.
and they couldn't really easily meet that threshold either, right?
No.
Especially if they're publicly owned.
Yes, yeah. So that's going to be very interesting for me. The smaller agencies are going to be fine, but they're not. But the smaller agencies are not going to be able to get the big accounts, and they're not going to. So it's going to be quite interesting to see who is around in a year's time and who's not. And
so, what happens if you don't meet that threshold? You can't bid for, let's say, government business.
It's not just government business.
Okay.
I mean, I'm seeing it. The banks seem to be the ones that are the most conscious of it.
Right.
And the banks are the ones going, unless you've got 45% ownership, we don't want to see you. And saying to the incumbent agencies, going, sorry, we're going to put this out to tender. And I think I mentioned it on the panel, and it's happened twice in the last 2 weeks, where we've got calls going, if you're 100% black owned, then we want to see you. If you're not, we don't.
Yeah.
And that's quite hardcore.
Yeah.
That's quite hardcore. And I'm super excited because of course I can go.
Yes,
I'm 100% black owned.
Yeah.
When can I come with my creds? And that's an interesting thing that's happening.
Do you feel any sympathy for the agencies, or do you think they've had 30 years to address this?
I have no sympathy. I have no sympathy. I have no empathy. It's really, I don't. It's how we have lived and worked in this country for as long as we have, pretending with that it's not an issue, that it's not going to happen, that I can make my money and look the other way. It's just unconscious, and what is the word I'm trying to say?
Unconscionable.
Thank
perhaps.
you. It is.
Yes. What do you do if you're a mid-sized PR agency that is, let's say, white-owned in South Africa? What are your options now?
Well, I think there's lots of options. I think the biggest thing is to let go of your fear, and to find something in your belly and in your heart that goes, this is not about me giving away my agency, because I think that's that's where a lot of people just stumble on. But this is about creating a different kind of wealth and a new kind of wealth. So there's lots of options. I mean, we in the M&M Brands group, we've done equity swaps, we've done straight out acquisitions. I think the thing is that you've got to just decide, do you want to do this, or are you going to try and find your way around the codes? Because there's always going to be a way to get around the codes.
But these aren't the first codes, right?
No.
And people have been finding their way around.
They have.
Previous
so we've had a
codes.
lot of. I mean, there's been a lot of window dressing. There's been a lot of there has. But I think now with this new MAC charter, it's 45% ownership is 45% ownership.
Okay.
You know?
Well, it's interesting to see. In terms of the market beyond that, how do you see the South African PR industry? I mean, obviously this is our third year of doing the conference here, which is probably too short a space of time to really gauge a huge amount of change. I mean, economic conditions continue to be somewhat challenging.
Yeah.
Do you feel that agencies here are adapting quickly enough to all of the changes in the media environment?
I think what I see, the big agencies have got their formulas and they've got their structures, and there's clients that feel very comfortable in that space. So I think that's going to continue. I just don't know that those agencies are going to be able to continue to scale and to grow if they're not doing anything truly different. And I'm seeing, and that's why these new agencies that come up are the ones that hold the creativity. But the interesting thing that I did notice when I was judging the awards is the inconsistency in those small agencies. So you would have like a brilliant creative entry that you'd go like, wow, and then you'd open up another one from the same agency that was nowhere.
Yeah. Whereas with the big agencies, what I often notice is sometimes even in the same category, they'll have multiple entries that I can't distinguich from
they
each
all
other.
look the same.
They're all quite good.
I know, but they all look the same.
Yeah.
It's that formula. So yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see who can play the game.
And how much of an issue is the talent that you're able to recruit, develop, retain? Because that's always the biggest challenge, right?
It always is, and it remains. I think I think we're seeing. I do see a lot more people are seeing PR as a lucrative career, and I am seeing a lot more men come into the industry, which for some reason the South African PR industry has always been very female dominated. So I'm seeing much more younger guys coming in, which is great because I think maybe at university level, like at UJ strategic honours level, we're talking about business results. And if there's business results, then suddenly PR doesn't feel two boobs and balloon.
I heard that phrase at our conference 3 years ago and then immediately tried to forget I'd ever heard it. What can the world learn from public relations in South Africa? Because I often feel like, not just South Africa, but so many of these countries, there's so much to learn. And here in particular, it's such a diverse country, so many languages, such, the sort of grassroots mentality as well, the importance of purpose. What do you think are the things the world should be watching South Africa for?
To be honest, I don't know that the South African PR industry is doing anything truly groundbreaking or innovative yet. I think we still play in that very safe space. Clients are still playing in that very safe space, and I think as clients, when their budgets are under threat, they just want safety. I think probably if anything, I think it's interesting to watch now with our new government and with the new eye on corporate governance and the huge amounts of crises that we've gone through with McKinsey and Eskom and Bell Pottinger and all of that. It's interesting to watch how we take PR into a very, I hate the word, but a very authentic space.
How did the Bell Pottinger saga, scandal affect the reputation of the PR industry in South Africa?
You know what, I think it did us all the biggest favour,
Right.
because suddenly people went, oh, is that what PR can do? Is that the power of PR? You know,
Well, every cloud, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of, it was like, oh, yeah, I think it really did us a favour in that respect, because suddenly a lot of people realised if you have the right comms person at the table, what it can actually do.
You too can stir up racial hatred.
And whatever, I mean, as atrocious as it was a brilliant strategy. I will give them that. It was a brilliant strategy.
Yeah. A little misguided?
Oh, of course, of course.
Well, not just in terms of what they did, but in terms of thinking it would be effective, right? Because surely they should have realised they'd get found out.
It was effective.
It was until it wasn't.
It was until it wasn't. But
Right.
I mean, it did. I mean, look what it did.
I suppose it's the ultimate throwing yourself on the grenade
Yeah.
for the client.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did become really...
Yeah.
Okay, and one last question I wanted to ask you. No more Jacob Zuma, at long last, long overdue, I think. Every time I came here, it seemed like he was on the verge of going.
Yep.
New president, a lot more positivity around the country. How do you think that translates for South Africa's global brand around the world?
I think our president is trying very hard. So he's been out there with the message. There's a lot of politics back home that he keeps getting called back to
Right.
deal with. So I think we're in for a long haul. And what I've seen from him, and what I've learned from him, even in the PR space, is that there's going to be no. We're not going to have a quick Obama fix. We're not going to have a quick. Cyril Ramaphosa is a trade unionist at heart. He is a negotiator, and he will take all the time he needs for both parties to feel that they've won. And that's been a lesson in PR, actually.
I was just going to say that's kind of good public relations.
It
right?
is
Mutual benefit.
I mean, so we're all anxious. I mean, we were anxious. When is Zuma going to get fired? When is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? And when it eventually happened, there was a picture of Zuma smiling next to him. So that I think the art. I think he is teaching us the art of patience, the art of pausing to think. So I think we're in, and while a lot of people want action faster, I think there's lots of lessons that we're gonna learn from him about just doing it something just slower and with a bit more thought.
It's no bad thing to have a leader as considered as that, perhaps, especially if you look at some of the leaders of other countries these days.
Yep.
Okay. Keri-Ann, thank you so much, both for this podcast, for taking part in our conference again.
You're welcome, thank you.
And we hope to get you back on the show in the not too distant future.
Great. Look forward to it.
You've been listening to The Echo Chamber. Brought to you by the Holmes Report and produced by Marketeers. Sponsored by March Communications, connecting innovation and people.